and I got to stay in the loop.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of cool in a good way. I've got students that sometimes record the classes and look at the meeting notes later. It's funny. When I was at Zip the other day, I took my freshman class to Zip,
Mhm.
and there was a kid who had gone to college, quit, super ADHD, but also no clue what to do, right? So you get to a 4-year college and you're taking all these GE classes, which you don't like. And so he stepped away and went and worked on a farm for a year. And I met him in Zip the other day. He's been in Zip about 12 months. He's built an AI-based, um, I don't want to call it a tutor. I want to call it a college assistant because you can ask this college assistant to do whatever you want. You can say, hey, log into my Canvas, look at all my classes, create a list of to-dos for me, create reading assignments, uh, ping me 48 hours before anything is due, and take notes of all the lectures and summarize them and blah, 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 blah. And I got a feeling this kid gave us a demo in Zip. For
That's
all the
awesome.
kids that, that I know that either struggle in school for the wrong reasons or maybe aren't as organized as they'd like to be. I looked at that thing and was like, holy shit, like this thing's super useful. Like if I was going to school today, I would turn that thing on all day, and just to keep kind of be my backup, right? It's almost like if you're to use a police metaphor, you never want to go down an alley with a backup, without a backup, so that your buddy is back there watching your back. And so it's kind of like the same thing. If I could have something that, or if the students could have something that proactively pings them on when things are due, maybe suggestions for, studying or suggestions for writing a paper. It's kind of fascinating.
It's crazy. We're getting into a crazy time.
Well, I always said that when I first saw or heard people like woo AI about 2 or 3 years ago, it reminded me of the internet. Woo,
Hmm.
and you always wait for the use case. And I didn't see the use case for about 2 years in the internet. And then, I saw Amazon and I was like, okay, there's a use case. Because everybody else was just building kind of pretty websites with no function. And when I saw AI, I was like, wow, that's a Ferrari engine, but what are you going to put it in? And I
Hmm.
thought as soon as someone can productize that engine of AI to solve real problems, I go, then you're going to have something, right? Then you're going to have um, something that's worthwhile. Hey, can you
All right.
guys, I got about a third of the class that hasn't turned your video on. Can you please turn your video on for Adam? It's funny, Adam, I was
We got the note taker in here. We're good. They can
yeah,
all
yeah,
check out.
yeah, yeah. Um, I was just looking up search again, you know, not search in the general sense, like just SEO search, but I was thinking
Mhm.
about how people search, whether they're searching in social media or like me, this morning, I had a very, very specific search. And so I went into YouTube, didn't even Google. Then I had another very specific search, went into Amazon because it was product based, no sense in
Mhm.
Googling. So I actually looked up how most people are conducting their queries, let's call them. And if you're product focused, Amazon is completely outdoing Google now. If you're, if you, I mean, Google's still a dominant search engine when you don't exactly know what you want, or you do, but you don't know where to go to get it. Uh, YouTube is second. I mean, the second most
Yeah.
information-based type searches are being done in YouTube. And the reason I mention it in this class, we're talking about SEO this week and content. And, as a marketer, you kind of got to be aware it's not just going to be, Google, SEM and sponsored ads or whatever in social media. Like you really got to understand your customer. And if your customer is hunting uh, in YouTube
And
land or Amazon
Bernie,
land,
and I bet if we pulled this class, like 50% or more are doing that on TikTok. That's like a go-to search engine.
maybe, maybe. It's interesting because I didn't look at TikTok searches. Because I couldn't figure out. if that was a product search, a service search, or an entertainment search. I couldn't figure, I still, guys, don't get mad
Mhm.
at me, but I still couldn't quite figure out the usefulness of TikTok. Um, I get how it's used in marketing. I get that part. I mean, I've listened to Tiffany, who will be coming into the class soon, talk about how she launched her sock brand, on one TikTok video. And she'll do seven figures this year, which is awesome for her. And it all started because of TikTok. She didn't have any money, and she sent a TikTok. Actually, she did a TikTok thinking nothing would happen. And like most things that happen, an influencer picked up on it. Not an influencer she paid, but an influencer who had the problem. And then that influencer, without Tiffany knowing it, blew it out to her base. And the next thing you know, she's got a seven-figure view rate and orders coming like crazy that she does not have product for. Because she thought she'd do a nice slow ramp. So yeah, it's kind of fascinating. It's going to be interesting to see how the whole TikTok saga plays out in the next couple of months or so. I guess there's only a month left for some kind of decision to be made. Um, I think with that kind of a backdrop, I'd like to introduce Adam to the class. Adam is someone that I met 2007, 2008, I think. Um, I had just started working at SDSU. Might have been teaching, I might have been in the entrepreneurship center already. And I ran into Adam. I don't exactly know how exactly, but I remember thinking to myself when we walked away from that very first meeting, here's a guy who's trying to put himself through school selling shit on Amazon. And he doesn't even care what shit he sells. He only cares that it's selling, meaning he wants to invest in things or buy things that he knows are going to sell because there's a demand, either a trend-based or a human-based demand for the product. And I thought to myself, I wonder where this is going to lead him. I'm not sure if we would have both said it would lead you to what you're doing today. But that's the genesis sometimes of becoming an expert in a space. You get to kind of define what you want to do in that space. And I would pretty much say you're an Amazon expert. You could probably still be selling if you wanted to put up with all that. But I do, no, it's all
Different
good.
things.
But I do also like the pivot that you made because, as you and I both know, if you can pivot to a service-based business and run it well, the margins are good. And you can also defend yourself a little more easier than if you're just selling a commodity-based product, right?
Yeah, I think it's always grass is always greener. Different problems come with different business models. So know which problems you're going to get into first. And then if I, going back, if I would have told myself if I would be, um, I the old saying of like make hay while the sun is shining is I wish I would have niched down and focused a little more instead of having this wide product depth, just like really owned in on a few different niches and
But you know
nailed
what?
those.
I get that, but then I
Okay.
don't know if you'd have learned differently then, because
Yeah.
I just think sometimes when we just wander into the kitchen and just start cooking crazy shit, like we're learning how to cook, number one, and we're learning
Yeah.
mistakes and we're learning from our mistakes so we don't make them again. It's almost like a shoots and ladders or a pinball game. If everyone could predict the pinball of our life, then I don't even know if we would do that. Like I
Well,
like sometimes not knowing where the ball's going to go.
well, especially when I met you and where these students are in their life, like this is that time to get a lot of shots on goal because
I don't
it's
know
so
if they quite get that.
wait till you get a mortgage and kids and your risk tolerance goes down a lot. This is the time, and I'll go into that further in a little
Hey, I
bit.
got a question for you.
Yeah,
You've kind of spent so much time around Amazon in your life. You have two children,
yeah,
it,
5 and almost 3.
and is one of them named Amazon?
No, no,
You
no.
certainly have spent almost right now you might be getting close to spending half your life in
It
Amazon.
It's dang close. Yeah, it's close to 20
Yeah,
years.
yeah. All right. Let me give you the ability to share here,
Sweet.
and the class is yours. So, like I said,
Okay.
this week in class, we're covering off on content and SEO.
Okay.
Cool.
And so I want to cover that for a few minutes. I have
Oh,
the
I
first
know what you're going to do.
last time I did this, I didn't cover anything SEO, and Bernie
But that's
lectured me.
okay
So
because I've got good stuff for
awesome.
Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with SEO. Now there's a few different, within SEO, if you're looking at the entire book, there's sub chapters, right? There is, and I would break it into local and global, or wide market. Now, let's say you want to start marketing for a plumbing company in San Diego. That is a different game than Ridge Wallet, who wants to market their stuff across the entire internet, right? So understand your market, understand who you're targeting, and then where it comes down to the question, where does your ICP or ideal customer profile live? What do they do? Who are they? What are their fears? What are their dreams? And how can you help them with those? Um, if you are a marketer for a plumbing company in San Diego, who are you trying to target? Well, it's probably the husband or wife at a house who is dealing with a backed up toilet or a broken shower. Like, what are those pain points? How can you talk to them? And how can you make content that resonates to them? Now, 5 years ago, it would have been, what kind of articles can we write? So Google indexes it. Kind of still the same with AI, and it's going to pick that up because ChatGPT is like indexing certain things. But if you really wanted to make a difference and stand out in the marketplace, well, what are you going to do? You're going to make videos. Any of you guys seen the the content that that neon sign guy is making, where he's like hijacking all the memes, and then he's like, "Do you want to buy these neon signs?" Anybody? No. But like, look this dude up. He might be the best salesman. And like, I don't need a neon sign, but I know if I ever did need a neon sign, I'm going to him because it's like he is hitting specialized niche stuff with this mass market. Bernie, you gotta look up some of these videos. They're freaking
Okay.
hilarious. Um, okay, we're good on content. We're gonna make good content, get it out there. There are many ways to get it out there. There are so many social media channels. Make good content, focus on those channels, focus on one to like know your one to start. Are you a LinkedIn person? Are you a thread boy on Twitter? Are you a TikTok girl? Right? Like, understand which channel, go all in on that, go with consistency, get better over time, and the algorithm is going to work, right? Like, you're feeding people clicks, you're feeding people thumb scrolls, right? Like, that's what it's looking for. If you're making entertaining, informative stuff, they're going to find you, and by default, your business is going to do better.
Is there one thing that you would have students do? Let's say you had an internship at your
Yeah.
company, and let's say for the sake of this conversation, it's an SEO based internship.
Okay.
What is one thing these students could go to as a resource today to better understand SEO today? Is it something in YouTube? Is it Googling something? Is it something they should read? Is it a certification they should get?
I think the certifications change so fast. YouTube and AI. I think anything like append AI to anything I'm gonna say, because like you're sitting in class now thinking about the next few years. Like, if you don't come out of college with a strong AI background, you are going to be behind. Like, full stop. So whether it's SEO, whether it's PPC market, like whatever you're thinking gonna do that plus AI, and you're gonna be set up. Just have a conversation with Google Deep Learning, which is free, about SEO, and have it study your sitemap and tell you things that you could be doing with it. Talk to Cursor about spinning up a landing page in an afternoon, or V0 or Lovable or any of those, like, AI tools. that's where I would be spending the majority of my time.
So what you could do, to take on your analogy, you could say if you didn't really understand SEO today, you could use an AI-based, chat prompt model, and you could say, okay, I need to build a website for a local plumbing company,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. I need to have, all my meta tags done right. I need the top 10 SEO words, blah, 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 and just play and then see what it
Yeah.
brings back. And it goes, oh, this, and because, I mean, technically,
I saw an exact, it was like a plumbing company in Tokyo, and it had a beautiful SEO report that would have taken an agency a few $1,000s to prepare a couple of years ago.
yeah,
And
I
that,
watched. I had another student. I'm trying to. His, his name escapes me right now. Oh, Ben Shapiro.
mhm,
He's been playing with AI. He's been also hanging out with private equity, and I think he just jumped into an AI-based company
nice.
to actually productize AI modules for small business. And he came into class and live, and he might do it again this semester. He came in and he built a website live in the classroom using AI with keywords.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the
That,
students were blown away because not only did it come up with all the SEO research, but then it showed him the site like in like 15 seconds. He had set the colors, he had set the theme, he had set the tone. And now it was like, okay, here's your 5-page site. What do you want to do with it? And students were like, I think they thought he was like screwing around with them. Like this was some like a backdrop or something he'd already done. He was like, no, I just did this. And so
yeah.
to your point about um, the ability to use AI not to replace what you're going to do, but to be a little bit smarter. In other words, you
Hmm.
come out of a meeting with a manager and they say, give me a perspective on the soap market, organic soap, and blah, 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 blah over the next 2 years. And you're like, oh shit. You'd be better served to use an AI prompt and say, give me anything McKinsey, Statistica, Pew, Nielsen have on organic soap, blah, 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 whether it's hard or soft, and then hit return. And it's going to bring you up a doc that's going to have links that you're right. It would take 2 or 3 days in the normal world to do
Yep.
that. And you're going to get a really quick summary.
Yeah. Just lean in. You got to add it to your toolkit. It's
How
so
many,
important.
for the, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to let them go here. In the classroom, just by a show of physical hands, how many of you are every day, as little as possible or as much, are playing with an AI-based prompt tool?
All right.
Not quite
And
half.
And Bernie, I think I've been coming back to giving these talks for like 3 or 4 years now. This is like the most that before it wasn't even a hand.
No, it wasn't.
So that's pretty awesome.
All right, go ahead, Maestro.
All right, sweet. Okay. So I was sitting there right where you are, kind of figuring out what the heck I was gonna do. And it's been 20 years since 20, like 15 years. And I made a lot of mistakes and a lot of good decisions. And let me take you through this. So, called Learn, Earn, and Return a Life Well Lived. All right. So, just quick phase, like, who I am, little background, different phases, where you're at right now, conclusion, and then open it up. All right. So, as Bernie said, he met me in 2007, 2008. I was probably 6 months or a year into selling on Amazon. I took a credit card cash advance for 1,000 HDMI cables, and Amazon had kicked off their fulfillment by Amazon program like 6 months prior. So I didn't even have to like ship the product. Before I was going to the post office and shipping like 20 to 100 cables every day. And then I was able to just send in containers into Amazon and it was like, oh, this is amazing. And then expanded into other products, like Bernie said, um, office supplies, Bluetooth speakers, top 1,000 Amazon seller status. And then expanded about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago.
But just to give
Yeah.
students a perspective, what was the most amount of revenue you did in any given year on Amazon?
Of our own products,
No, just
probably
whatever you were selling in Amazon.
Yeah, but like our own stuff or reselling
Don't care.
like clients.
No, this
There
would have been when you would have been Amazon only, not as the agency.
yeah, 20 mil, something like that.
So just so students understand, it's not like he's, oh, this is cute. I'm doing $50,000 in Amazon. I mean, I was watching his revenue climb, and I remember saying to him once when he hit like 10 million, I was like, shit, what's your goal? And he goes, I'm being mentored by somebody that's doing 50 to 100, and
Yeah.
I'm like, are you gonna gun for like 100? And he goes, it's possible, and I was just like blown away because I know how much at that time you had 300 products, you had a team. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff going on, good and bad. But I was still like, this guy is muscling this thing to wherever he
Yeah.
wants it to go.
It was
So
it
I
was
just
like
wanted to give them a perspective because I could see some students thinking, yeah, he probably was doing 50 grand. It's cute. And I'm like, no, he's doing serious money.
like
All right.
and you know right place, luck is like preparation meets opportunity, right? That's everything. You guys are doing here, you're getting the reps in, you're trying some stuff on your own. There will be an opportunity like this. They don't come often. TikTok might be that one. But they come around every few years if you're ready. And then about 8 years ago, we got a client, and that was way easier for us because we had the skill set of selling on Amazon. We didn't have the product market branding, supply chain side dialed in like these companies had. And I was like, oh, our skill set plugged into theirs, off to the races. And I think we've got like 70 employees now, about 60 clients. But over the years, bought real estate and bought and sold businesses. It's been a great life. I owe much of it to my time at San Diego State. And you're like, okay, cool. So what? Um, well, so I owe a big portion of it to SDSU and teachers like Bernie. If you could listen to my story or ask a question or anything like resonates, and you save a week or a month or a year or like one loss that you're gonna have, like that's awesome. I've been where you're sitting right now, and then just do it the same one day, right? Like the San Diego State community is special. I think you guys know that. It's like the people it hits above its weight, right, Bernie? It's like
It
for
does.
a it's not an Ivy League school, but like the alumni list is strong, and I think we owe a lot to San Diego State. Okay, all right, phase one, get the bag. All right, does anyone bonus points if anyone recognize this guy? Chat or say it.
Well, I know who it is, but I ain't saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Any students? Okay, this is not Warren Buffett. This is Warren Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, who recently passed a couple years ago. He's got a book, Poor Charlie's Almanac. It is one of the best books on investing in business you can get. Add it to your reading list. And here's his quote in this. Can I pull this up? That first 100,000, and this was back in the day. It's probably 1 million now. It might be 500,000, but this is adjusted. But you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere, not eating anything that wasn't purchased without a coupon, find a way to get your hands on 100K. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. So, um, you know, maybe some of you come from families that will loan you this. I didn't, right? So how do you get this? Well, you need skills. Um, what are those skills? Okay, hustle, grit, sales, saying yes to lots of things, bias for action, and then growth is on the other side of discomfort. Now, I already talked about AI. AI is the kind of force multiplier on all of these, and I also highlighted sales as another force multiplier. You see a lot of founders, it's like you're either super technical or you can sell. And I know I'm not super technical. So what's the thing that you can learn? that anyone can learn and practice, it's sales, right? So, um, especially in this phase at San Diego State, the cheat code is you can talk to anyone about anything. Like you can outreach to any alumni or even not an alumni, anyone in San Diego or Southern California, or maybe even in the country, and reach out with the magic words, hey, I'm a student at San Diego State and I'm doing some research about dot dot dot, right? Like about their thing. That will open so many doors that um that you just have to open the door and walk through, right? So if you want to learn about SEO, you find the top 5 people in the entire industry and use this. And 1 out of 5, I guarantee if you email 5 people, one of them will take a call with you. Um, if it's about sales, if it's about job prospects, if it's about what they would recommend during your college experience. This is the time. So you're sitting here. I had part-time jobs, but you might think you might not have a lot of time now. You have more time now than you'll ever have when you're older. So just know there's always a little more time.
By the way, for those of you in the class that no matter what you think of sales, don't think of it in the used car mentality, but think of it in the kind of mentality of you're selling yourself for the rest of your life. Like if I met you, at a convention, or if I met you at an event, or if I met you in the elevator and I just turned to you and said, well, what do you do? And it was your chance to impress me, right? You're selling me. So what are you selling me? So there's a book I read. Don't get the book. Look for the summary. Look for a summary, some simple summary on spin selling. It was written by Neil Rackham. And I went through an actual Huthwaite Neil Rackham seminar back in the day when one of my mentors wanted me to become better at sales, even though I was in marketing. Because you're pitching in front of a client. I mean, you're selling. I don't care what you think you're doing. And he thought I sucked. And so he was like, I need you to go do this 3-day seminar. And I didn't want to go. It was in San Francisco. I was in New York at the time. And I was pissed. And I honestly believe it changed my life because I did not realize how I was behaving around other people exactly. They broke people down into personality types, these 3 or 4 major types. These are the kind of questions and the way you ask questions of these types. You cannot ask an A, type A person a B question or a C question. You got to ask A question, but you got to ask it as a B personality. I mean, I came out of there, I went home. I had a girlfriend at the time and I treated her differently. Like I treated everybody I started meeting differently. I started listening better and I started feeding things back. So if I could solve that problem, that would be something you would be interested in. I started getting commitments and statements. And then people would be
If
like,
I clean the
yeah,
dishes, that's
yeah,
something to be
if
interesting.
you will wash the dishes, then we can go for a walk, type, whatever it is. And honestly, it made me so much better in front of clients, but I didn't expect it, but it affected my personal life in a positive way. So anyway, if you at some point in your career, you have to be good at representing yourself. And then if you're not going to take a sales training class, then my advice is to read something like a summary from Neil Rackham's Spin Selling book so that you at least understand what you don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Okay.
this phase lasts from where you are right now until probably 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years out of college, right? Whether you decide to go back and get a master's or you just start your corporate career, hopefully earlier rather than later. This is that phase because this doesn't matter. I'm not talking only for entrepreneurs. This applies to a corporate gig as well, right? Like the difference between taking a job and getting a 3% cost of living increase every year versus like getting in there, hustling, and moving up that ladder to become a manager, director, VP. It's the same exact skill set needed. Okay. All right. Let's say we were out of college for 7 years. You've just you worked 3 to 5 years after college. you've saved, scrimped. Okay. So you can either keep going heads down, and most people, the majority of people, Americans, if not the world, do this. They just like stay on that path until they die. And what I'm saying is like you've got to phase one of life. You've gotten to like a good point. Take a breath. Think about the next part of this journey and make sure you're headed in the right direction. Right? You can keep climbing that ladder and go from manager to senior manager to director to VP. Okay, awesome. Or you can go start your own thing, or you can go to a different company with a different trajectory, or go to a startup and apply the same skill set. What I'm saying is, so many people get stuck on this path, and that's why I like the idea of ikigai. And it's a Japanese principle, and it's at the center of what you love, what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. Now, if you can find something with all of those traits, like your body starts humming, and the universe starts vibrating. Do I have all four right now? No, I don't. I probably have three out of these. Um, it is, but it's way better than having two. It's way better than having one. It's like if you see the difference between someone who's like so fired up about what they're doing and someone who's just like, ah, yeah, I gotta get up on Monday and go to work. Like that's not a good place to be in. And you have the ability to shape where you go right now. Vern, what do you think?
It's funny. I teach freshmen. I have a freshman class on Thursdays. Hey, by the way, I'm going to meet with Logan.
Awesome.
And right now I got them working through Dweck's mindset and Senec's why. And I'm reading their reflection papers and I'm like gently blowing their mind because they thought that their DNA, their parents' DNA, um, where they are now, however they are there, was not in their control. And I'm saying, no, everything is in your control. But if
Hmm.
people don't understand exactly what your why is, like the difference in understanding your why, I remember I had a student last semester and she was kind of quiet, but I could tell she just had this kind of nerd smartness about her. And so I said, what are you doing here at San Diego State? And she said, I'm a double bio neuro major. And I did not accept that answer. I said, so what are you doing here at San Diego State? And then she looked at me for a second and she said, I'm going to save some children's lives one day with what I put together. That's my mission. And then I said, that's your why. Like people don't really care what you're doing, but they'll buy into your why. So I got these kids believing, which is true, that between mindset and owning their why, they can decide to go where they want to go. Like nothing's
Hmm.
pre-scripted. And the beauty of it is, I wish we had a class like this for every 18-year-old kid that comes to college, because they think it's like, okay, take these G's, pick a major. My dad said take accounting because accountants get paid and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And they think there's like this, it's a linear road. If it's not confused, it's linear. Like just check it off, check it off. And what they don't understand is no, now's the time period when you kind of plot your strategy about, who you're going to become. Not necessarily exactly what you're going to do, but finding that core why. And if you say, well, how do you find it in college? You usually don't. Unless you got a good tribe you're running with, you find it by cooking, by working part-time, by getting an internship, by traveling to Europe in the summer, by hanging out with, kids in music and coding, which is not your major. Then you see all these different perspectives and it helps you form your why. So, I can count probably, I don't know about you, Adam, I probably can count on just two hands the number of people I've met in my life that have gotten all these four. It
Yeah.
seems crazy.
Well, I think it's a noble thing to shoot for. Now, um is your life a failure if you don't get all four? No, of course not, because then you have, overlay Maslow's hierarchy of needs on it, and once you have a kid, you're fulfilled. Like that's a that's a win. Or once you do something that you had on your bucket list for forever, like I don't want to put those in the. You should strive for it, but this is like an ongoing, um, ever loving pursuit. I think when you get there, it's like,
Well,
okay,
this
what's
is
the
the
next
kind of thing that
mountain?
never has you saying, if you're pursuing this, I
Yeah.
have to get up on Monday and go to work. Like you never hear that from those people.
But I think it's important. I think the order is important, right? I think there's something, especially for me who grew up less financially secure, who didn't have that baseline, getting to that first little mountain, then you get to take a breath and kind of go shoot your shot. Um, there's something about that of like feeling secure, like, okay, I went and got that. I can go hustle and go trade crypto meme coins if I need to. I don't want to. It checks none of these boxes. And then, but I know I could go do it if I needed to. So that's why I like the order of it.
Okay.
Okay. And then what's three? All right. So you got right. So you've got, I say, learn, earn, and return, right? So the last phase is what's going on with your career. If you are still on that corporate ladder, which is amazing, and you're rising up that, what does that look like? Are you setting up mentorship groups in your organization? Are you jumping kind of every 2 years from organization to organization to get a higher pay? Okay, cool. What's going on in your personal life? Are you still growing? Are you still testing? Are you still using like the latest AI tools in your free time? Like all of the most successful people I know will like call each other on the weekends and be like, "Oh, did you see this new AI tool?" And it might be, pretty nerdy, but there's a common theme in that. Like if you're doing that for fun, think about what you'll do for work too. And then giving back to situations like this, like look for opportunities to help mentor. Uh, and then this is a personal statement. We started having kids around 5 years, like 35. I wish I would have done it earlier. I'm like way tired, way more tired now. So if you're thinking you might not ever want it, I thought I didn't want kids, but they're the best thing in the world.
It's funny you say that because I purposely waited. I would have been a horrible dad in my 20s. No, I was earning and burning in my
Yeah,
20s. And
I know, I know what you mean.
once I made the decision to go out on my own with the other guys, it was right at about that moment that I thought this might not be a good time to have kids, or it might be the best time. So I had two of the kids, I have three, in the middle of our run. And,
That's
it
awesome.
felt normal, Adam. It
Hmm.
didn't feel like weird or work or now if you say, well, what was your life like? Work and don't miss anything important for the kids. So I didn't play tennis for like 12 years. I didn't do, you just
Hmm.
make, they're good sacrifices because there's
I've got
nothing.
I've got
If you
skis
think,
that
how many
haven't
of you
got
have a
used in
dog?
5 years.
Like if you come home to your house or apartment and a dog comes running up to you, and a dog always does, right? Unequivocal love. And you might have a shitty day and your dog comes up and just kind of noses your leg and licks your hand and you're just like, ah, this is good. Well, okay, now multiply that by 100. And that's what happens when a 2-year-old, toddles to the staircase and grabs your leg when you come home after a trip and you just could melt. You're just like, man, I am everything in this little guy's world. And that's, I love that type of a feeling. And I never, that was the best feeling for me ever. When I used to come in, whether it was coming in from the agency or coming in from a trip. Um,
Like,
I didn't
and
see it ahead of time, Adam. I waited to have kids and I didn't see that. I just thought kids was something I wanted to do, but I didn't see that kind of ownership, heart, soul type
mhm.
of impact. I didn't exactly see that. I thought, oh, it's time to be a dad, And then you have your first child and you just like melt, you know? Yeah.
You know, so um, we, you and I can wax poetically about it, but like but when someone was talking to me about having kids before I had them, it like didn't resonate, right? It like
Yeah.
you don't, it's almost foreign. So, but what I say is, right, it's like I like to steal models from people I see out in the world. Um, and it's like my idea of mentorship. I've had official mentors and unofficial mentors, um, real in real life mentors, and then mentors like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, who you could just kind of get their thinking from. Now, something I've said often is like you see a lot of like old happy people, and you see a lot of old rich people, but you don't see a lot of old rich happy people. And there, so why is that? Well, because like at some point, like money takes over for family or interpersonal reasons. And like I've seen that too many times where it just like they stop on phase one and they get lost on phase one. And it's like bag chasing their whole life. And that might be great for them, but that's not the life I want to live, but then when you see someone whose family loves them and they love their family and they're still successful, and it's like this like effortless joy, and like that they emit from life, it's like, okay, what's the secret, dude? How do you think? What do you do in these situations? And like try to find those people. Now, you see someone who's great at doing something on the internet or like at business, like feel free to talk to them, like model that, but like try not to make your mentor your like deity, right? Like don't take the whole person, take just the parts you want, and you can take a little bit apart. If I said one thing, like take the other thing and ignore everything else, and then take a lot of stuff from Bernie, because I think he's one of the, I think he's an old happy rich dude. He's one I would model myself after. So that's the model I like to look at life. How can you give back? Where are you still growing? And then keep that brain working, because it slows down later. You're smarter and more efficient when you're my age, but your brain slows down a few cycles. It's kind of crazy. So conclusion, learn, earn, and return. That's it.
All right. What questions would we have for Adam? We can go all the way back. We can go
Yeah.
all the way back to wherever he was raised. We can go back to SDSU. We can go back to the Amazon business. Or you could ask him, I mean, a lot of you are marketing majors. You're getting ready to get out of school. You can ask him anything you want. Julie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, because most of us only have like one semester left at SDSU. What would you say like to take advantage of while we're still here that you might have taken advantage of too that helped you?
Yeah. I think outreaching like 20, 30, 50 people in an industry that you want to get involved in, with that like magic line, hey, I'm a student at San Diego State. You can even say like I'm graduating in a couple semesters. I have a few. When you're outreaching, like the more specific you can tailor your question, the better answers you're going to get, and the better the person's going to get. They're busy; they have 100 emails in their inbox. Hey, can you help me? Is like low value. Hey, I'm deciding between the, um, this marketing platform or this marketing platform. Here's my thoughts on these. Which do you think? Right? Like that's a high value one. Shows you put effort into it. Versus like, hey, can you meet me for coffee? There, no one who's successful who you want to meet with is going to have time for coffee, at least on the first email, right? Like build a relationship, do that outreach, and then firm up your network here, right? Like I don't know if there's groups that you're part of and things like that, but this is like a good group that you guys are going to go on and do successful things. And I think most all of my best investments have come from my network. So just build a good
So
network.
just to let you guys know, because a lot of you might be thinking, okay, great advice, but I don't have any of that. I don't have a network yet, or how do I get one? And it's like I had marketing students in the past that have looked for marketing events in the community in San Diego. Then they would reach out to that marketing event and volunteer to man a table or a booth at the marketing event. And then they would get in for free, right? They would end up giving up like 5 or 6 hours at the registration table, and then they had access to the event. And they also were handing out badges to people so they could see who was coming in. Oh, there's a VP of marketing at Qualcomm. Oh, there's a director of marketing at Petco. Oh, whatever it might be. The second thing is, I it's the adage of, run with the people you want to run with in the future. And so
Mm.
I have a sophomore in my entrepreneurship course, and she wants to build either a woman's sports or lingerie brand. And she's kind of goofing around. And we sat down, I think a week ago, and I said, okay, start reaching out to women in the community that are in the space. Only work part-time or do internships at stores like this. Look for other people that are da 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 da, looking, so that she starts, if you want to, not to say that all of us are like this, but if you want to run with a wolf, then find a wolf pack. You're never going to run by yourself. And so this idea that the packs are out there, the tribes are out there, the villages are out there. You don't see them because you're not really looking for them. But if you can get into a village like that, then you've broken into like 15, 20 people that are in that pack or village, and it could change your life. But you have to start thinking, like if somebody wants to work in fashion or somebody wants to work in travel, then start hanging with those people now. Start looking at, well, who's running small travel companies in San Diego? Who are there any travel events? Blah, 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 blah. Are there any travel entrepreneurs? Are there any travel startups? And you just start either crashing events or you start reaching
And
out to
then
some of those
hit up
people.
Bernie for people that he's connected to on LinkedIn. So
Well,
that's
but it's got
perfect.
to be specific. I mean,
Yes.
if someone has done their homework and it's specific and they're like, hey, do you know someone,
Like if they wanted to
here?
talk to Brian Kidwell, right? Like, and they
Yeah, and if
tailored
they
a
had their,
message for you.
if they were respectful and they had their shit together in class, and I
Yeah.
knew that they wouldn't embarrass my brand, then I would say, yeah, this guy built a $40 million travel company out of air, on cheap flights. And so, and he's a good guy, and he went to state, and he's like 32, and he's super, super humble. But would he respond to you if you reached out to him? No, he's the CEO of the company. He's crazy busy. But if I referred you or someone in the network refers you, then people do see people. Does that make sense? All right. McKenna, go ahead.
So first of all, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed everything you spoke about. It's kind of
Thanks.
just inspiring to do more of a broad, hey, don't get lost in life thing. But so you said you have all three of those pillars. I'm kind of more curious about how your day-to-day life looks in the business you're doing currently, because I know you were in Amazon reselling before, but
Yeah.
kind of exactly what you're doing pretty much, because we didn't get the full rundown on that.
Yeah. So I split my time now between the agency, which has 60 employees and 60 clients, and it's like it's a people business. And a few years ago, I was like, oh, I don't like people. So I probably shouldn't be in a, and like I say it jokingly, but it's like if you were if I it's not I don't love at some size every business becomes a people business, and that wasn't the size for me. It got too big where what I love is it called in the lab. I love tinkering. I love playing with new tools. I love getting a process from 0 to 1, taking it from 1 to 10. That's someone else. I need someone else on that. So spending half my time in the agency, and that's phasing out, and more time on a software that I'm incubating within the agency, and I'm just building that with one other person, right? So I say it's like I want to work with smart people to do cool shit and solve hard problems. Like that's my ikigai right now.
And your
eh,
agency, just so they're clear, your agency helps brands
Sell
sell in
online.
Amazon.
Yeah, exactly. And TikTok, exactly.
Okay, okay. So the agency's very, very specific. It's not like a general agency. If you don't want to sell, if you don't have a product to sell or a service to sell using
Mhm.
TikTok or Amazon, Adam does not want to talk to you.
Yeah, we'll refer it. But it's like, okay, the agency like has brought me amazing things in life and it's amazing.
So
And I want to,
is it
and
fair to
it's
say out of those four things in Ikigai that implicit or the agency is not actually what you love?
as of now, yeah. I think, I
Okay.
mean, they, you get in this and like there's still things I love in it. Like I was doing some AI automation stuff, like just whooping stuff up. That would be the ideal scenario, but as a whole, at 50 or 60 people, it's like you have one person, you have a people problem every day at 60 people. And I don't like people problems. So,
You should have been a therapist, man.
oh, my wife's a therapist. So
Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, I was just really curious. I mean, we've talked a lot about AI. What are you probably, I guess, two of your favorite AI applications or softwares or
yeah.
something that us in college could use either in our first job or even right now?
Yeah. Let me, I'm gonna share my Claude. So Claude just released their newest one. I love the projects and I'm gonna go. Um, so Flatfile Pro is the software tool we've got, and I'm showing you this just because to show you the projects in Claude. So project is where you can dump a ton of info to give so you don't have to start from scratch every time when you build it. So what I did, and it's very kind of methodical. I dumped in our roadmap. I dumped in our customer service, like 10,000 customer service questions, or not 10,000, but 1,000 customer service questions, social posts, email. I fed it Gary Halpert, who's like a OG copywriter, just like great copywriter. I gave it his book, and then I gave it the Story Brand framework, which I don't know if you guys have done it here, but it's amazing. And then I had it write the story brand framework for Flatfile Pro and I fed it back into AI. Then I fed it the website and then I fed it like text of a video.
So
Now,
just so the students understand,
yeah,
he's feeding an AI-based
like this is
engine
the
very,
brain.
very specific things.
Yep.
Because he's going to ask this engine to do something that is related to some of these specific things. So he's training the engine very, very specifically, almost for implicit or for the agency, for what you
Yeah.
might give it. Okay.
So like you build your brain and I have multiple of these projects like you saw. Like I've got a project for some like Airbnb I'm marketing. I've got one for like a software tool, right? So now on each of these projects, I can just say, write me an email about our newest reflecting panel. Here's an image of it. And then the prompt that I have it go through is like right at a fifth grade level and ask me questions before you proceed. Because this is the magic right here. Like these questions that it feeds back, then I just like, so this is my input, this and this, which like some days I'm just like grunting or I'm like, and then it'll give me boom, a like fully tailored, I would say
Hmm.
8.5 out of 10
Hmm.
every single time. And with like, and then I have it formatted in HTML for active campaign. So like Claude projects, ChatGPT projects. I love V0. I pulled this up before starting. This is like if you're mocking something up, I have zero design skills, zero. And like just from typing, like it made this thing. And if I want to change it blue, I just say change it, right? It's like this is something I would have had to pay $40 a month for as a plugin on WordPress. And now you can like build it in 10 minutes.
Hmm.
So pretty cool stuff for that.
Where is it getting? Is it just getting the code for this calculator just from open source and it's just ramming it
Um,
together for you?
this is Vercel's, so they're like a front end like library. So like it's like they trained an LLM on all their stuff.
This is the most legal stealing of shit I've ever
This is
seen through
this is
AI.
all no, this is them. This is their stuff.
No, I get
So-
it. I get it. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I love it. I love it. I'm an anarchist.
and
I'm a
then-
disruptor. I mean,
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. I think everyone should be using Replit for the like, and if you have no technical ability, I think Replit is where you go to like make your own app, and you can make an app in an afternoon and have it live. Let's see what I got live right now. Okay, I made a Wheel of Life app, and I made it in an afternoon, and like it's totally live, and like anyone can go use it and log in. And I like did this with words, right? Like no
No code.
code. It's like, all right, so we're gonna rank like, I do this on a quarterly basis. Like, how's my life doing? From work, right? And money and home and organization and friends and family and relationship and health and fun and personal growth. And then you can see like over time, like, because like the thesis is like if your wheel looked like this, like you probably are feeling pretty shitty versus like if it's like balanced, So I do this personally. I was doing it in Excel spreadsheets. I was like, oh, let me turn this into an app. So Replit is this platform where you can just like rate these apps, and it handles the hosting and the database. That's the tricky part of AI. If you're technical, you can like hook up your own database and hosting, but like this is the easy, cheap way to do it. Yeah, those are like some of the tools I use. I love nerding out on it.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Serafina.
Yeah, so I've studied Ikigai before a little bit, and
Yeah.
I was kind of wondering from your perspective, do you think that there's anything missing from that diagram or anything that you would want to take out and maybe replace something for your own personal life versus just like general for everyone?
That's a good question. Let's see. Hmm. I mean, it feels like it resonates really well, right? It's like, can I like quibble with the words maybe a little bit, like love versus like fired up or like passionate about what I'm good at. It's like, am I making progress at something, right? 'Cause I think that whether, am I good at AI? No, but I'm making progress in it. And then I think this is important, if you've got rent and food and those kind of things, and then what the world. I think this is a key component because I see so many smart people um spend so much brain power on silly things that I don't think move the world forward. I mean, that's a personal belief of mine. Maybe someone could argue. I think it's like I would love to see some people I know who are the smartest, like put their brain power towards things that can move the world forward.
You know what's interesting on that? A lot of the people that I meet like that too, Adam, I mean, I just walk away, my brain hurts. They're so smart, right? They are hung up on what they think the world wants and not what the world needs. And a lot of times they can't cross the bridge. You have to be very customer focused and kind of external to really be wanting to listen to customers. I listen to some of these people and they're telling me what they're doing, which is genius. And then I go, yeah, but will anybody buy that? And they go, yeah, everyone will buy it. And I mean, it's almost like they're cult-like. And I walk away going, that is one of the smartest people I've ever met. Not sure that's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much can be learned from 20 conversations with potential customers. Like before you even build anything, just go talk to 20 potential customers because it will change what you're going to build.
Go ahead, Alec.
Hi. I just wanted to comment on what you said about the guys like nerding out and talking about like different AI tools. That is like something my best friend and I do like every weekend. He's in computer science. and we just play around with like a bunch of tools. And there was one we played around with called like Suno AI where you can like make your own music and stuff. And one of our songs like hit like over 100,000 like listens, and that was just
Nice.
randomly created with AI. It's crazy. It's crazy what you could do nowadays with it.
That's sick.
Yeah.
But do you have another like? Are you gonna make an album or like what? Make an
That was
AI
like
DJ?
I don't know. I felt like really conflicted about that because it's like it is AI, so it's like I don't know. It feels weird like trying to profit off it, I guess, because it's like there's people that like make their actual own music. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you know,
Did you like doing it? Do you
yeah,
enjoy
you
it?
gotta figure out what
It's
you
fun.
want.
It's just I don't know.
No, no, I hear what you're saying, but I mean,
Yeah.
you just gotta figure out what it is you really want to do. I mean, to the one point, the fact that you're playing around with shit and hanging around with people in different majors, that's already a
Yeah.
plus. Uh,
Yep.
and so, but
Get
you
around
never
the rim
know. You
because
never know.
the
I mean,
those
I've
are the
seen.
people. I mean, if I could go back and go hang out with comp sci majors, because like they're not marketers, guys. Like you
Yeah.
might marketing comes a lot easier to everyone here. Doesn't come easy to a lot of other people, or they're not interested in it.
Yeah.
So, team up with people where that's where you're complementing skill sets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's very
I
technical.
like the other point of view too. I mean, I like having conversations with people where I don't quite understand exactly what they do because I have
Hmm.
no clue where the conversation's going. And if it's, I like when you're not in a defensive conversation with someone. It's so refreshing just to have a conversation where you can agree to disagree, but you're super interested in learning about their point of view because you may not know a lot about the subject and you feel like this person does. I have a lot of conversations like that, and people are like, well, I saw you talking to that guy for 15 minutes. Do you really care about that? And I go, no, not really. I go, but the guy's interesting. Well, did you agree with what he was saying? No, not really. But I have a lot of those kind of conversations. I mean, I look at myself as like a vacuum sometimes or a vacuum cleaner. I'm just sucking things up just to suck them up. I might reference them later. I mean, if I find someone, I'd rather talk to someone who's engaging and pretty smart in a room. And not when I mean smart, I don't mean like that's not an ego thing talking or whatever, but they're knowledgeable, let's say, about what they're talking about. I like that versus idle chit chat and bullshit like at a party. Like I like talking to someone and I walk away going, man, I didn't know that. Or you know what? I'm gonna go research that. Anyway, Nicole, go ahead.
So I wanted to kind of bring it back to when you guys asked us like raise a hand who like dabbled with AI like on a regular basis, maybe just a little bit every day. Um, and it was a good amount. You said that that was the most you'd ever seen. What do you think is like this kind of gap that needs to be filled between like AI and it becoming as commonplace as the internet? Because I mean, we all use the internet. What do you think would get the interest of maybe like college students? Because I actually just started interning for a woman who's doing her own AI startup. And so I just
Nice.
wanted to see like what would get like the perspective of like, maybe college students, what would get them more ramped up about AI?
I have this problem internally at the agency. So we've got an AI platform we use, and everyone has a seat, and half of the people don't message at all, right? They literally don't use it, and then the other half do, and then we've got like 10 that are power users, right? So it's a weird grading system. I think there's people that are just like in a life cycle of any product. There's early adopters, and then it crosses the chasm to like the first part of the bell
Early
curve, and
pass.
then yeah, and then the late adopters, and then my mom gets on there at the end. But um, I don't think I I'm a little afraid of what's going to happen to people who aren't going to use AI or aren't using it to the best of their ability or don't like level up their knowledge of it. It's getting so fast so quickly that I'm a little scared of what's going to happen in 3 years. Like for people, I tell my team all the time, we're not losing our jobs to AI. We're going to lose our job to people who are using AI. So let's be those people.
But the other side of it, to answer your question, Nicole, I think you're going to start to see AI embedded in products, right? It's already
Mhm.
starting to happen. And an example of that would be, if you book your trips through Travelocity, rather than filling out all the bullshit, you just put in a few prompts and say, in and around these dates, in and around this, in and around that, send me like, 3 Airbnbs. And it might be on Travelocity. You might not even be on Airbnb and say, send me 3 Airbnbs and 3 hotel choices.
Yeah.
And in, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds later, you get, a chat or a message, and it's like, hey, here's a link to what we built for you. And I think that's how most people will start to use AI. I'm not sure they'll even know it's AI unless they're told. But it's going to start.
But for everyone in here, like, that's consumer versus creator, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone here is going to need to create stuff. And that's where the AI, if you were a designer, now you can be a 100x designer. If you were a copywriter, now you can be a 100x copywriter. I
Well,
think that's
I saw a demo, Adam, I think it was 2 weeks ago, of Adobe in Photoshop. And you know
Mhm.
how, let's say you're building a billboard with a pineapple on it and a beach and blah, 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 and that's your base. You're going to be doing outdoor billboards. The prompt I saw was literally someone typing that in to this Photoshop application, and the billboard appeared inside Photoshop done to edit. And so the designer
nice,
was
yeah.
like, I don't need to spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes getting that design. Now I can start to critique it and change it and tweak it. And I'm seeing things like that
Mhm.
leaking their way in, and so again, it's not a creator thing, but that's where I think, if they're not having design students at State, for example, use AI. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I have kids use AI in the classroom, or I'd like to see them use AI in the classroom because, I give them 20 to 25 minutes to solve a tough problem where they've got to create a brand, they've got to create an Instagram ad, they've got to create a search summary, whatever it might be. I know they couldn't possibly do it in 20 to 25 minutes amongst themselves. At least I don't think they could. So I'm like saying, yeah, you're going to need to use AI to do this.
Mhm.
And for a lot of them, I think they're getting exposed to AI in the classroom and they see the mistakes of AI and this and that. Don't look at it as it's the creator. You got to be the creator. It's what Adam just said, where it's a shortcut to doing a lot of things. It's another perspective you didn't
Mhm.
see. Like if I asked you to do dog research in the US, you could spend a couple hours doing that, or you could thoughtfully think about 5 or 6 prompts, put those prompts in an AI engine, and in 10 seconds later, you'd have a 5-page summary. And then you could kind of decide where to go next, right? It's saving what used to be thoughtful time, but now that I look back when we did that research, and it was actually menial time. Like we were menially searching research to find clues to new things or other things that we could corroborate or not. And that was a lot of time. Like I remember hiring research houses and paying them 40, 50 grand to give me a snapshot of an industry. And now I don't even need that.
Oh, yeah. No, it's literally free.
Yeah. All right.
But
We've gone a little bit over.
sweet.
Anybody have a final question for Adam before we let him go?
Have I
Um,
scared you into AI? Okay.
Sorry.
Hey.
Honestly, kind of going off of what you guys were just talking about, if you were to use like, because obviously you guys use AI all the time and you're saying we should use it more. So in like a business setting, if you were to do research for something or create something half using AI, or even like your idea for a campaign is based off of research, but you did your research like he was talking about, like through AI, is it just like acceptable to say that that's where you got it? like, do you have to like cite your, because AI doesn't really, at least when I've used it, it doesn't tell you where it's getting the information from. It just kind of spits it out to you. So I haven't been able to like actually cite that as a source,
But you could ask
But
it to cite the source.
does it do that? I feel like when I've used it,
Certain
tried to do
ones,
that
I
in the
think
past.
Gemini does that. I think.
Yeah, I've
Yes,
just struggled, like, I just didn't know if like that's something that people are kind of doing less of, is needing to
but
know,
also
like,
I think in
yeah,
the in the real world, or like not in real world, in like post college, like
hmm
no one cares about your sources. So that's the
Well,
yeah,
Makes
they
sense.
they
that's
do
the
it.
fun
They
thing.
do in the sense that if you're making a $20 million recommendation,
Yes.
you better have some resource.
Yeah.
But you can get that.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
get that. I mean, the source that those are the little things that are going to go away, Haley. Like that shit's
Okay.
going to go away. This early version of AI that we're seeing, I feel like we're watching
I
like a two
I
month
think
old or a 3 month old. This toddler
you
hasn't even
know,
started to walk.
I think it's like high school. Well, okay, so what I say, like, choose one of these easy things, like make a project in Claude if you got Claude, or make a custom GPT in ChatGPT. And like that will it will take you 30 minutes. Make a custom GPT. It could literally be about fantasy football or like makeup color palette selection. Like it doesn't matter. Just pick something that like you kind of know that you can make um a GPT, and it's like that's like the baby step to prompt engineering, to the API calls. Like just make a little GPT. Um
Okay.
yeah, and that gets you like familiar with it. And to a normie, it like will blow their mind when you show them like, like if I showed it to my mom, it's like, oh my gosh, you're the smartest person in the world, right? It's like, so make something like that. You can show it to your friends, refine it over time. And then when you want the next step, let me know. And then, you can start getting on the API there.
Cool.
Okay.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Adam, we're gonna
Yeah.
let you go. As
Badass.
always, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, everyone. See ya. Reach out
See
if
you
you need
later.
anything. Bye.
It's really funny because I can remember when he had when the Amazon business was starting to hum. I think he had 6 million that year. And we had lunch one day and he was just like completely wound up. And I was like, what's up? And he goes, I'm dealing with a bad product that we're getting a lot of returns on. We filled up an entire room in the North Park location with the returns and we're processing them. And I got 12 people now. And these people, they have needs, Bern, and he was never like super into management or this or that. I think that's what he loved about the early days of Amazon. Like he could do 300,000-400,000 by himself. And then all of a sudden and I was like, well, I go, let me give you a couple of freshmen or sophomores and let's clean out the room in North Park. Let them teach them how to process the returns. It's shit work, but what you got to promise is that when they're done, should take them about a month, that you take them out for dinner and that you kind of tell them what you would another product or whatever that you'd be selling in Amazon right now, that you give them a reward. In other words, you pay it forward because you're like an Amazon god. They have no clue. They want to be entrepreneurs. They don't even know how to sell. You got to understand Amazon. So your gift to them at the end of 30 days when they clean out this bullshit room, is to give them something that you think they can do $100,000 on in the first year and how to do it. And both those kids did it so fast, it was ridiculous. One kid did it on paper. What's that? Oh, clipboards. I had one kid, a sophomore, who did 100 grand the second year in clipboards. You're like, clipboards? Who gives a shit about clipboards? He took a look at the number one and the number two company on Amazon selling clipboards, and he noticed that they weren't in color. They were just that kind of brown paper color. So he copied them, copied everything about them, and he offered people the choice of 4 or 5 colors. And he quickly became number 2 because he noticed there was no good number 2. And these clipboards were only selling for like $5-6, but he found out that he could get them out of China for 60 cents. And yeah, I don't know what that kid's doing today, but literally, I think it was at the end of his sophomore year, he had done 100,000 that year with Adam's help on clipboards. And he was looking at what other categories could he add, because he knew that clipboard, he didn't give a shit about clipboards. He didn't give a shit about any products. Matter of fact, neither did Adam. I'd say to Adam, you have 300 products. He's like, yeah. I go, how do you pick what to sell? He goes, oh, I go to the trade fairs in China once a quarter, and I walk this huge convention hall where all the manufacturers are showing everything they're building for everybody in the world. And I'll be standing there and on my phone, and I'll see something and I'll go, how much is that? And they go, it's $12, shipped. And then he'll look up online what that thing was selling in Amazon, and it would be selling for like $80. And he'd be like, I want 5,000 of those in 6 weeks, and then he was going to undercut the market and come in and sell them at, $49.99. And he was doing that all the time. And he got his insights from trends and from going to the trade shows in China. It's kind of fascinating. And then he finally hired a guy. He got tired of going to China. So he hired a guy in China to go to the trade shows and tell him what products they should be adding next. Because they were constantly adding and dropping products. When a product for Adam dropped under, I think it was 25,000 in revenue, he just dropped it. And he went to the next product. And in order to kind of keep the machine going at 20 million, he had to have roughly around 300 products, which was kind of crazy. I don't know how he juggled it. I honestly don't know how he did it because there's so many different products and they were all different. On Thursday, obviously, I'll go. I mean, the guy's an SEO and content expert, but he doesn't want to talk about it because he thinks it's boring. But I have a really good presentation from another expert who has spoken in this class, not this time. And I will give you a crash course in SEO and content with some real examples, so you can actually dangerously understand it and understand how important it is to marketers. Danielle,
Here.
Millennia, Nicole,
Here.
Matthew,
Here.
Isabella,
Here.
Lee. Actually, I found out in a good way. She finally sent me an email. She is dropping the class. Kyle,
Here.
Brandon,
Here.
Carly,
Here.
Kayla,
Here.
Liam,
Here.
Amir,
Here.
Serafina,
Here.
Paige,
Here.
Kylie,
Here.
Kylie Holland,
Here.
Mons,
Here.
Leo,
Here.
Kennedy,
Here.
Dolev, Satoru,
Here.
Claire,
Here.
Jesse,
Here.
Mayella,
Here.
Brooke,
Here.
Alec,
Here.
Haley,
Here.
Patrick,
Here.
Christopher,
Here.
McKenna,
Here.
Michael,
Here.
Liz,
Here.
Julianne,
Here.
Abby,
Here.
Izzy,
Here.
Katie,
Here.
Christian,
Here.
Will,
Here.
Nicole,
Here.
Clara,
Here.
Amanda,
Here.
Keisha,
Here.
Gabriella,
Here.
Haley,
Here.
Cameron,
Here.
Erasia,
Here.
Julie,
Here.
Julia,
Here.
Bella.
Here.
By the way, don't be afraid to reach out to someone like Adam on LinkedIn. You can't message him if you're not connected to him, but don't be afraid to reach out to him if you have a question or you have a point, something specific you want to learn. The way you would do it is you would ask to connect with him. Yeah, I said your name, Aaron. And people, as long as you don't use generic kind of connect language, but you actually make it personal, like, hey, Adam, thanks for coming to the class, blah, 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 blah. I have this question, or, his company, the agency name is Implicit with an E. They're up in Seattle. I mean, I think they're going to become one of the larger Amazon agencies because of Adam. He's probably working his way out of it. He's probably already hired a president of that agency. You can tell that he's not going into work every day and listening to 60 people ask different things. And I mean, I managed 700 people once in our agency across 7 offices. And I thought I was like the biggest dad in the world. I mean, not that it's a negative, but when you care about people, you want to help them. And when people feel like you care, then they come to you. So it's like, what do? Tell them not to come to you? And so you don't. So you got to step in and solve a whole raft of problems. I remember once I had a writer who was going to quit because of some other situation that was going on. And I actually, this is crazy, I lent her money to pay off a bill collector that was harassing her, just based on the promise that she would pay me back. It wasn't crazy money. To her, it was crazy money. It was like 2,500. But she was such a good writer and she was going downhill. She wasn't doing well at work. And I was like, what's going on? She explained the whole situation. She was embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. I go, look, you're too good of a writer. I go, let me pay this guy the bill and then you pay me back when you can. And she was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I go, sure you do. I go, you were a freelancer before we hired you. Do some extra freelance and pay me back. I go, but at least be happy. I go, I can't have you being unhappy because your copy sucks right now when you're unhappy. And so that's just that. It's all kinds of stuff. It's just stuff. He doesn't really like stuff. But you can reach out to these people. But you have to be specific. And that's for any speaker in the class. You can't just go, oh, can we have coffee sometime? No. What's your favorite color? No. It has to be specific. Like, oh, I'm using this one AI, but then this other thing says this or that, or, who do you know? If this was my background and I'm sharing my profile with you, who do you know that's really good in X marketing in San Diego? Remember, he grew up here. He didn't move to Seattle till about 6 or 7 years ago. So he grew up here. And that goes for any of the speakers that are coming in. Reach out to them if you have an intelligent question or a focused question, and they'll hit you back. Like I actually pinged a couple of them, and that I thought they did an amazing job in class. And I was like, hey, how many students reached out to you? And they go, none. And I'm like, dude, I would crawl down your street and up your driveway to build a network with you, like with what you've accomplished. And I go, you didn't have a single student reach out. He's like, no. And I'm like, well, they're busy, or I would say something polite. But I was thinking to myself, you in your lifetime, if you ever want to do anything in entrepreneurship or marketing, will never meet 12, 13 people like this. Exactly. I mean, they are really, really accomplished people. But I also don't bring what I call assholes into the class. These are good people. I don't bring egotistical, weird, funky people that are into themselves. I bring people that want to give back. I bring people that are mentoring. I bring people that care. I bring people that mostly have a soul. I would never introduce you to a person that I didn't want you to meet, that I had met, that I didn't like, right, for one reason or the other. So don't hesitate to potentially reach out to some of these people with something specific that might help you. Okay? All right, anything else? I'll see you Thursday.